Frank Zappa stands apart in modern music not because he belonged to many genres, but because he refused to belong to any of them. Guitar virtuoso, composer, bandleader, producer, satirist, and relentless iconoclast, Zappa built a catalog that actively resisted comfort, nostalgia, and consensus. While many of his peers refined a recognizable sound, Zappa treated style itself as disposable, something to be reshaped, mocked, or dismantled entirely. His inspirations were unusually broad: rock, doo-wop, early R&B, free jazz, jazz fusion, dissonant modern classical music, and musique concrète all fed into his work, often colliding within the same composition. Zappa did not view these influences as separate traditions to be respected from a distance, but as raw material to be bent to his will. The result was music that sounded confrontational, hyper-intelligent, and often deliberately hostile to passive listening. Between his debut in 1966 and his death in 1993, Zappa released 59 albums, not counting reissues or posthumous projects. Most were issued on vinyl, many under labels he controlled himself after severing ties with what he saw as the conservative and morally hollow machinery of the mainstream music industry. For newcomers, this sheer volume can feel intimidating, even alienating. Zappa did not design his catalog to be welcoming. He designed it to be unavoidable. His recorded career began modestly in early 1960s Los Angeles, where he cut novelty and surf pastiches for small labels while living around Laurel Canyon, then a magnet for emerging rock talent. By the end of the decade, he had evolved into one of the most fearless band leaders of his generation. With the Mothers of Invention, he transformed the rock band into a precision instrument capable of executing music that borrowed as much from avant-garde composition as from rhythm and blues. That transformation became undeniable with his debut album, Freak Out, released in 1966. As rock's first double album, it immediately rejected the industry's assumptions about format, content, and ambition. The record fused social satire, sound collage, extended improvisation, and abrasive humor into a sprawling statement that treated the album not as a collection of songs, but as a unified artistic work. Even when placed alongside later landmarks of the psychedelic era, it remains startlingly uncompromising. Zappa pushed further with Absolutely Free, sharpening both his political commentary and his compositional complexity. The album reinforced his reputation as a provocateur, but beneath the surreal humor lay a deeply skeptical view of American society. Despite assumptions that his music reflected drug-fueled excess, Zappa himself rejected intoxication entirely, and his work often attacked the complacency and escapism he saw around him. The chaos in his music was calculated, not indulgent. Rather than repeating himself, Zappa then took an unexpected turn. Cruising with Reuben and the Jets focused almost exclusively on doo-wop, a genre he had loved since adolescence. This was not parody, but a meticulously constructed tribute. By narrowing his scope, Zappa demonstrated how deeply he understood the tradition, reshaping it without undermining its emotional core. The album revealed that his relationship with the past was not dismissive, but intensely informed. The dissolution of the original Mothers of Invention opened another door. Hot Rats, released in 1969, marked Zappa's first major instrumental statement and one of the earliest fully realized jazz rock fusion albums. The music was expansive, technically dazzling, and unusually warm by Zappa's standards. Extended solos, intricate arrangements, and fluid ensemble playing dominated the record, signaling a shift toward music that spoke through structure rather than satire. That clarity was quickly complicated again. Uncle Meat, assembled over the course of a year, pushed Zappa's studio experimentation to new extremes. Originally conceived as the soundtrack to an uncompleted science fiction film, the album fused rock, jazz, orchestral fragments, and musique concrète into a dense, fragmented architecture. Heavy use of tape manipulation and overdubbing created a work that felt chaotic on the surface, but revealed an internal logic over repeated listens. It remains one of Zappa's most demanding records and one of his most rewarding. If Uncle Meat represented controlled complexity, Weasels Ripped My Flesh captured raw confrontation. Compiled from live and studio recordings spanning several years, the album documents the original Mothers at their most unrestrained. Free jazz eruptions, abrasive textures, and moments of near-total sonic collapse dominate the record. Rather than polish or cohesion, Zappa prioritized intensity, using disorder as a compositional tool. By the mid-1970s, Zappa had assembled a new generation of musicians capable of executing his increasingly intricate ideas with near-military precision. Roxy and Elsewhere, recorded primarily live in Hollywood, stands as one of the finest examples of this era. Complex compositions unfolded with exacting accuracy, driven by virtuosic percussion and tightly synchronized ensemble playing. The album balanced intellectual rigor with physical momentum, proving that Zappa's most challenging music could still swing. As his reputation as a composer solidified, Zappa's guitar playing risked being overlooked. Shut Up and Play Your Guitar, released as a triple album in 1981, corrected that imbalance. Drawn from live performances, the collection presented Zappa as a fiercely expressive soloist whose style combined blues aggression, angular phrasing, and unpredictable melodic logic. The album revealed a guitarist whose voice was as distinctive as his compositional mind. Zappa's long-standing obsession with orchestral music reached a major milestone with London Symphony Orchestra, Volume 1. Influenced early on by modernists such as Edgard Varese, Zappa had always viewed rock as a means to an end, a platform that allowed him to fund and legitimize his larger compositional ambitions. The album demonstrated that his orchestral writing was not a side project or indulgence, but a serious and fully realized extension of his artistic identity. In the mid-1980s, Zappa once again moved ahead of his time. Jazz from Hell was created largely using the synclavier, a powerful digital synthesizer that allowed him to compose and perform music beyond human physical limitations. While some listeners rejected the album's mechanized precision, it represented Zappa's continued refusal to stand still. The record ultimately earned a Grammy, a rare moment of institutional recognition for an artist who had spent his career rejecting institutions altogether. Frank Zappa's relevance does not rest on universal appeal. His lyrics could be juvenile, his humor abrasive, and his music intentionally difficult. Yet his legacy endures because of his refusal to compromise. Across these 10 albums, a consistent philosophy emerges. Art should challenge, provoke, and evolve, regardless of whether it comforts its audience. For those willing to engage on those terms, Zappa remains not just a figure from rock history, but a reminder of how far music can go when fear is removed from the equation.